was just a routine evening. We had supper together as a family. We had worship and prayer. My daughter was in her crib fast asleep, and I sent my two boys upstairs to get ready for bed. Alex was 10 and his brother Evan was 5. I heard this horrendous crash upstairs. It was so loud it sounded like a piece of furniture had fallen over. I rushed up the stairs. The first thing that I saw was Evan, my 5-year-old. He's standing at the doorway and he says, "Dad, Alex has fallen off of the bunk bed, the top bunk." He had been pulling back the blankets and somehow he had flipped over the side of the bed. And in a somersault action over the side of the bed, he had hit the floor, hitting the back of his head on the hardwood floor. I made it into the room and Alex, just 10 years old, crumpled on the floor. His eyes were open, and yet when I looked into his eyes, there was nothing there, just staring into space. So I called the paramedics. I asked my wife to get a flashlight, and I shined the lights into his eyes. One pupil was large, the other pupil was really small, and as I shined the lights into his eyes, they didn't move. Alex had hit the floor with such force that his pajamas were melted on his shoulder. His right hand was curled up tightly in front of him. He's posturing, seizing the right side of his face. It looked like every bone in his face was broken because of the muscles so contracted. And we knelt over him and prayed. I had only had Alex for 10 years. And it looked like I was about to lose him. Anne-Marie was still kneeling next to Alex, still praying out loud, "God, have mercy on us and save my son." As I was kneeling beside him, I was praying, "Lord, what do I do? How do I save him? What do I do?" My eyes were closed, and I was waiting for something to happen. And then Alex began to make this noise, this guttural, gurgling noise. It sounded something like, "Ugh." And I said, "God, that's worse than no sound at all." I've heard that sound since then. I've heard it several times as I've been beside bedsides of hospice patients. They call it the death rattle. It's the sound that you make as you're dying. My son was dying in front of my very eyes. And I cried out again as I heard my wife praying beside me, "God, have mercy on us and save my son." As I continued to pray there with Alex with my eyes closed, I heard his voice. No gurgling, just his clear voice. And he said, "Dad, what happened?" I said, "Son, you've fallen off the top bunk. Don't move. Stay very still. You'll be okay." And he said, "Dad, what happened?" Over and over again, he asked the same question. About this time, the paramedics arrived, and by the time they made it upstairs and they entered the bedroom, Alex is lying there, his eyes open, communicating, answering their questions, moving his arms and his legs as they instructed him to, and everything seemed like nothing had ever happened. The ambulance drivers were so convinced that nothing was wrong, that everything was okay, that they told us that they were going to leave. We weren't quite satisfied that everything was okay, not after what we've just experienced. And so we loaded Alex into the car and we drove to the hospital where they did a battery of tests. And besides a concussion, everything was fine. My name is Eric, and my prayer was answered.